Welcome to XXL's Moments of excuse me, I mess up every time. Moments of Clarity podcast with Vanessa, Shaheem, Rahman. We have Havoc as our special guest today. I know Shaheem's ready to go already, so I'm gonna fall back and let Shah jump in right away because I feel like he's bursting with some questions over there. But let's go.
Let's get it.
Hav, that's my brother, man. Like, I always tell people, I got so much love and respect for a myriad of rap groups, but my two favorite, Locks and Mobb Deep, because that's my era when I started really going to the clubs and started to go out. So, it's really cool where I feel like I got people that I actually grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Even though I didn't grow up with them and I didn't meet them until I got into the game. And, I'm lucky that when I got into the game, these guys like really embraced me. Like all of these guys are my friends, man. And 25 years.
Word, man.
25 years of the infamous. Where the hell is time?
Yo, that's why we gotta cherish every moment because time is just flying.
My experience, I think V and Rahman should also tell you their experience of, getting the album for the first time. But my experience, man, I was living in Norfolk, Virginia, going to school. And I went to Military Circle Mall. It was a Friday night. The album had just came out. And it was the same day the movie Friday came out.
One of my favorite movies.
So my Friday night was lit. I went to the mall, got some food. I bought the album, listened to it, bought my ticket for the movie, listened to the whole album before the movie started. And I was just mesmerized, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a, y'all dudes raised us, man. Like we can't even explain it enough. I spent a lot of time like on this podcast talking about my brother. Like me and my brother, like literally like all three of the first Mobb Deep albums, like there's so many memories that like shit that would happen in our life that what we went through where like during those times, like we was playing those records and like going through shit and like, you know what I'm saying? Like being young niggas or whatever. And like Shah was saying, like when I first heard Survival of the Illest Part 2, you know what I'm saying? Like was literally like in my man's Volvo riding down the fucking Jamaica Ave at night. You know what I'm saying? I was going to St. John. I had just started going to St. John's and that shit just really, it was something that changed our life. You know what I'm saying? Like when Nas came out, we, us being niggas from Queens, we from Queens, like when Nas came out, you would think that we was all on like the Queen shit like that, but we was really on Buckshot. And all Black Moon and Helter Skelter and all that shit. But it's like when the Mobb Deep shit came out, it was just, it was something that we just really related to. You know what I'm saying? That just like embraced us or whatever. So you changed, y'all niggas changed a lot of niggas' lives. I used to tell Prodigy that shit all the time. Like y'all did an incredible job for what you did, man. Y'all right up there, y'all and Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
V, what's your story? What's your infamous story?
I remember leaving school and going to the mall, and I was in upstate New York for high school for those years, and I went over to the mall, and I remember, I think it was The Wall was the store at the mall. The Wall, it was not The Wall, I think it was The Wall. And I remember racing over there to get it and tearing it open, and I got I'm trying to remember what car I drove then, it was so many years ago. But I had a little Toyota Tercel, and I remember driving around the parking lot of the mall over and over again, listening to the project, going through and getting through the whole thing and then wanting to listen to it again, but not wanting to skip anything, going from the very beginning to the very end, listening to everything through and then starting over again. I remember the whole thing very clearly. And I loved Nas back then, so I was so excited to hear him on the project, just everything about it. I was born and raised in New York City and then was in upstate New York for high school. And so that kind of stuff kept me connected back to what I thought was going on in New York City, what it felt like in New York City when you're upstate and trying to find your way in between both of the different worlds, you know. So
No doubt.
thank you for that.
No doubt. Thank you.
I remember the weekends. It was like, let's go to the tunnel. You know, like Sunday nights and shit. And
Word.
I could actually say you put me in my grave. I could actually say I saw Mobb Deep at the tunnel. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like, I was one of the realest shits I ever seen in my life. It was like 100 niggas up in there. What was those times like, man? That was so incredible.
Oh, Lord.
When I think back to those times, especially like the tunnel, you know what I mean? It was like it was an honor to rock in the tunnel, because you know that you had to have a hot record to perform in the tunnel, period. You know what I mean? The tunnel was like, you know, like a war zone, but it was a happy place too at the same time, you know. So we was like super excited, man, like to say that, you know, for lack of better words, like those moments right there, you'll never forget them, because, you know, you work hard on trying to create a record and you bring the record out, you know, it could go either way. You know what I'm saying? The odds was in our favor. We came out with the record and we was able to, you know, perform it, and we got so much love from it, and it just felt like, you know, we felt unstoppable.
Yeah, you know, I just want to backtrack a little bit for the viewers who wasn't around the tunnel days. Probably, I ain't even gonna say probably, the most legendary nightclub in hip hop history.
Absolutely.
Everybody from Tupac Shakur, Biggie, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Mob, Puff, Jay-Z, Nas, DMX, Diplomats, even before they was Diplomats, officially Diplomats. Everybody touched that stage, man. And the tunnel, it was sort of like a litmus test for what was hot, not just in New York, but in hip hop, period, man. You know, it was always dope to see like people from out of state come in. Like, I think I passed through the tunnel before.
You know they had to go there.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
Word.
Dr. Dre, Snoop touched the tunnel. And it was a phrase, I mean, the phrase has died down now since the tunnel is shut down, but it was a phrase we used called tunnel banger.
Yep.
The joint wasn't banging in the tunnel. You had to go back to the lab and figure something out.
Word. For real. And that's what niggas was in the lab trying to make, you know what I'm saying, tunnel bangers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Like, so when niggas went in that studio, is it a tunnel banger? If it ain't a tunnel banger, you definitely had to go back to the drawing board.
That's when the streets, that's my favorite period of rap, because that's when the streets actually ruled hip hop. Now we in the era where it's algorithms and it's not even like radio programming. It's like algorithms. What's the streams? What's the YouTube? But you know, records like Survival of the Illest and Time Goes By, Eye for Eye. Now, I don't even know if those records charted. I'm sure Survival did, but I know half of the records on the Infamous probably didn't chart, but they felt like number one records. You know what I'm saying? Like they had popularity in the streets, like they was number one on Billboard.
Absolutely. And you know, those days, like, you didn't have to have a record that was on the chart, because the streets was the chart. You know what I mean? Like, if your joint was in the top 20 on the streets, it didn't even really matter if your joint was getting played on the radio. Radio was going to pick it up automatically anyway.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about the Mobb story is that it's a perseverance thing, because, you know, for a lot of kids that's watching this, or a lot of artists nowadays, we see that they kind of blow up, you know, on their first go around, and you know, they might not have the longevity. You guys did the reverse. You guys came out as kids and it got some buzz, but it really didn't blow up to where it was like universally known or universally embraced, and you didn't give up. You went back to the lab,
Nah.
went back to the lab and got busy.
Well, you know what I mean? And you know, that was the beauty of it all. When I think about it and look back, you know, we didn't pop off out the gate, you know, but the journey was the you know what I mean, was the prize, you know what I mean? The journey, that grind that we had to do to try to get back on our feet, get another record deal, and you know, and to work for what we wanted.
Yeah.
Did you know it was going to be, did you know then, or when did you know this is my career? This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. This is literally, you know, I'm not working at Verizon. I'm not going to be a teacher,
Right.
I'm not whatever. Like, this is literally my career path. When did you realize that?
I realized that when I dropped out of high school to do the music, you know what I'm
And it was
saying?
really
Like,
full-time career.
yeah, you know, and you know, if you think about it now, if I would have thought about it too much, then it probably wouldn't have went off. So like, you know, they always say, you know, never have a plan B, just always a plan A. That was my plan A, you know, and even when the first record that we did, it didn't do anything, I still knew that was going to be my career, you know what I'm saying, in hip hop. I just never gave, me and Prodigy never gave up.
Right.
Yeah, we already knew.
It was always fascinating to me how the music just kept getting better. Like,
yeah,
Hell on Earth that was one of the greatest things God ever created in music, as far as I'm concerned. That was a really incredible album, man. Like,
thank you.
And, you know, and then when I just like hearing the stories and stuff that what, you know, y'all have been going through, I'm like, you know, especially you, like, you was like the mastermind. Like, how was you able to keep focused and just keep creating like just this timeless music like that?
Because, you know, I just was dedicated to success. I was dedicated to my artistry, you know what I mean? And, you know, when, you know, growing up in the hood in the fucking projects, I mean, you know, you just don't lay down. We go through shit. You know what I mean? We go through stuff and we just get up and we try to be stronger. So, you know, I lost my brother, you know what I mean? Like 96, 97, he committed suicide.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A few of our friends was dying, you know what I mean? Getting locked up and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect is like, you gotta survive. You know what I mean? You gotta represent, man, against all the, you know, bad shit and activity.
People gotta remember, or not even remember, but people gotta understand that hip hop, you know, as dangerous as it could be these days, and you know, we'll talk about it. It was an air of danger in hip hop back in the day. And New York City, period, was a lot more dangerous than what it is. I mean, you look at 42nd Street now and how it's Walt Disney World just about.
Right.
You used to go to 42nd Street, you don't know what could happen. Like, you know, when you just going, not even 42nd Street, going to another borough, that was like the realest thing on the album where y'all talked about going to see girls and boroughs, and you gotta be super on point because it's a simple walk to a different projects.
Straight up.
A life or death situation.
I mean, you know, we all got to kind of give ourselves a pat on the back for even making it this far. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you know, the 90s and all of that, it was crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even have to be directly associated with anything, affiliated with it. You know what I mean? But you could have definitely got caught up in the mix, you know, going to see a friend somewhere, you know what I mean? Hanging in a club, just trying to have fun, shots go off and you running towards the shots, you think you running away from it. You know what I mean? Like how many of us been in the club when a fight started and the next thing you know, the whole club is running towards you and you gotta, you know what I'm saying, run the other way. So it was like that, you know, and but we lived through it. That was, you know, the vibes back then. We wasn't scared. We just was, that was life.
And
you mentioned
the club the next week, by the way. The week after it got shot up, we was right back there.
Right back in there.
you mentioned Shaw 42nd Street, but it's like shit, we was living in Queens. You couldn't just go to QB. You know what I'm
I
saying?
get
Like,
word.
it wasn't rocking like that. You needed that, you know, and niggas be talking about checking in and all this other shit. Like QB was like his own little world out there.
Word. Even certain niggas from QB had to check in to go to different blocks. You feel me? It was serious.
And Nas did a really good job of like raising like the awareness about Queens and Queensbridge and shit like that. But I really feel like you gave that sound. It was like the signature sound to Queensbridge. You know, did you ever was that something that was like in your mind?
Nah, it wasn't in my mind to do that, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like if I could make an analogy of it, I am a signature of Queensbridge. So only what's in me is gonna come out of me. You know what I mean? So I wasn't there happy, you know what I mean? I was there just like this, like, man, I want to get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Shit is crazy. So, you know, those are the beats that was just coming out. You know what I mean? It was the vibe.
Where did y'all get the Hennessy jerseys from, man?
Oh, that was that was Prodigy all day, man. Little do people know, Prodigy is like a fashion icon. He was the one that used to be doing all the wardrobe. You know what I mean? And I remember he came to me early in the morning. We was about to shoot the video back from the Coliseum. He was like, yo, son, I got these jerseys. Let's put them on. I ain't questioned it. You know what I'm saying? I just threw this shit on, and that was that. And he always used to be coming with little wardrobes for the videos. We never really had stylists, straight up.
So how would you break Mobb Deep down? Who did what? Who was responsible for what? How? Like he worried about what, you worried about what?
Like me, I was just always fucking with the tracks. You understand what I'm saying? When it came time to do the order of the album, I left that to P. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he did the sequencing. I didn't even give two fucks about it, but he would just strategically place them, and I always just would be like, all right, yo, that's him. We do a video. He damn near is the director of it because he doing like the treatments for it, and he handing it over to the director. So he was, even though, you know, he didn't make the beats or nothing like that, but he was really influential on how I was making the beats, and he was super influential on how we looked. You know what I mean? Because he was really conscious about how we was representing ourselves on a, you know what I'm saying, on a I guess you could say on a fashion level, you know?
Yeah, you RZA and Kanye, I mean, I gotta put you up there top first on some Queen shit, but y'all top three producers. You know what I'm saying? Like in my mind, you know, who was some of the guys who you was like kind of looking up to like during that time when you was, you know, when y'all was first coming out?
During that time, I definitely was looking up to like Large Professor,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? I was looking up to Primo, you know what I'm saying? And P Rock was on fire.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can't forget, you know what I'm saying, Q-Tip.
Right.
So, you know, those was like some of the people that I was like trying to emulate early. Like, you know what I mean? Lost Professor was an animal. P Rock was an animal. Marley was a legendary animal.
Mm-hmm.
And Q-Tip could go right or left with it, you know? So those are some of the people I was looking up to.
When you got it, you know, got in the game, Infamous certified as a classic, and you coming around some of these producers. One of the great stories that I love when I was watching the beat battle with Primo and RZA is that Primo said RZA would come to him and just talk a lot of shit to him sometimes, like, yo, I got this joint, you know, you got a record out right now, but I got something coming. Did you?
Right.
Who did you go back and forth with producer-wise?
You know what, that's dope, but I never really fucked with too many producers like that. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, it's not because I didn't want to, but you know, I'm just the type of person, like, you know, I be like to myself, you know what I'm saying, dolo. But you know, when Alchemist kind of came on board, you know, I used to bounce things off of him. You know what I mean? This young, fresh kid from LA living in New York, incredible dude. Like, I was like, damn, I'm like, you know what I mean? So I used to bounce things off of him, not so much as like, oh, you got this record, I got that record. but he kept me on my fucking toes. You know what I'm saying?
You know, a lot of people on the internet, they've been, you know, with these beat battles, they've been saying they want to see Havoc versus Al, but I feel like that's home team.
Yeah.
Right.
Home team. Like what? He gonna play a Prodigy record and you know,
Right.
yeah, that don't make no sense, man. I would like to see if anything, maybe you and a Pete Rock. I think you and RZA would have been epic as well. I mean, RZA got a lot of stuff he ain't playing with DJ.
Right.
So if you want to, again, but I thought you and RZA would have been dope because you know y'all kept y'all sound mostly to the crew. You know,
right.
So
right.
that would have been epic. But what about you? Who's somebody who you want to get in the ring with?
Man, you know, I'll get in the ring with anybody. You know what I mean? I don't care because I'm just gonna be having fun anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And because to me, is not about winning. I think whoever steps in the ring, they there for a reason. That their position is already solidified.
You already won, right? You already
and the rest is just for fun.
Yeah.
Any regrets Mobb Deep didn't do? Any regrets when you look back that you didn't take advantage of an opportunity? The two of you didn't do a song you should have done, didn't do a video, didn't go on a certain tour that you look back and would have done differently?
To be honest with you, I will have to say, I don't think we got any regrets of anything that we did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes it's not worth having regrets because you can't rewind time, but some people live with regrets, some people don't.
No doubt, but you know, if I truly had any kind of regrets, I would mention it. You know what I mean? Because you know, fuck it, it is what it is. But a lot of the things that we went through that wasn't in our favor, you know, it ended up working out in our favor anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we was one of those groups where we barely scratched the surface of getting radio records. You understand what I'm saying? The system was fighting us in every turn. We hardly got any real big magazine covers, but yet and still, I think that added to the mystique of Mobb Deep anyway. We didn't oversell ourselves,
right.
And we kind of stuck to who we was. It would have felt amazing to be on MTV TRL, you know what I mean? But we don't got no regrets, man. We did it well, and 25 years later, I could say that I'm proud of the work that we did.
Rightfully so, right.
They recently just had the big the Loud Records reunion, man. And
yeah.
You think about like all of those people at Loud at the time, Pun, Wu. You know, forget about Mobb having competition in rap. Just that record label itself, man. What was that like, man? Like, you know, y'all drop an album, and then you know a few months later you got the damn
Raekwon.
Yeah.
Purple Tape. Yo, to be honest, it just felt dope to be a part of that shit. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So it wasn't even no room to even think about a competition or something like that. I'm like, you know, I used to like, you know how you'll brag about your older brother or something like that? It's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the Wu-Tang coming out with shit. And if anything, it only made it better for everybody else on the label. So, you know, when one of us won, we all won.
Yeah.
And how was it? You know, obviously, like you said, y'all didn't really make radio records, but, you know, and I'm pretty sure that just knowing a guy like Steve Rifkin, you know, he probably never really like forced y'all to make like radio records. Like, how comfortable was that just to be on a label and just, you know, just being able just to create your sound?
I mean, it was a really refreshing feeling, man, because if somebody would have been breathing down our neck, you know what I mean, to be like, yo, make this kind of record or that kind of record, I don't even think, you know, Mobb Deep would have lasted as long as it did. So Steve Rifkin gave us that leeway. You know, we would go in the studio and just bang out, you know what I mean, without any A&Rs breathing down our neck. So it was like the perfect situation.
That was just, you know, that was a time, man, like, when you look back at it, man, we just kind of took it for granted that we was getting all of these classic hip-hop albums, you know, that era. Like, it just felt, you know, from my perspective, just as a fan, like, you know, that's just the way of the world, man. Like,
Right.
you know, hip hop, we were just gonna keep getting these classic albums forever and forever. And, you know, somewhere along the line, like, it switched up, man. But, you know, that's why I think we kind of look back at that time with such fond memories, and there's really such a great resurgence of that era. You know, I think it's a lot of younger cats going back and doing their research, and of course, like all of these anniversaries are just coming up now. So
yeah.
And they're locked in house, you know, they're locked in house watching these battles, seeing these music, not really forced to, but almost forcing themselves to. Like we're seeing so many young people who are genuinely interested in these producer battles. And also I think you've come in, and you probably can say this with your sons, you see, because of the age of hip hop, you see so many more men sharing hip hop with their little brothers, with their children, with their sons, with their daughters. We have more rappers that come around and say, "You, my ear to the street is because my ear to the street because my kid tells me this. My kid told me about this."
Yeah.
So you just, because of the age of hip hop, people are brought together so much by their family members now because of the music. Like it's a bonding experience almost more than ever that we see, you know?
Absolutely is. I mean, you know, my son is 23 years old, and you know, sometimes, you know, he's my ear to the street. You know what I mean? I didn't know about this flex culture. You know what I'm saying? That be going on. So you know, it makes me feel old, but I can appreciate the way hip hop nowadays, the gap is bridged together through, you know, the different generations. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful time, and I think this is the first time in history with any music genre where, you know, different generations are actually listening to the same music.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about our guy Prodigy, man.
Yes, we have to.
Such a beautiful guy, man. And you know, one of the things in his passing that I thought was one of the most remarkable things is that so many people put up pictures with them and Prodigy. But I'm not talking about just industry people. I'm talking about just fans, people from the neighborhood. And I was been looking at him like I knew P was a man of the people, because I would go see him. I'd be going to the movie theater on 72nd Street, at the movies and whatnot. So I was talking to him in the street, but it was like, damn, this dude really was touching the people like that.
Yep. He was, yeah, you know, P was out and about, you know what I'm saying, living his regular life, you know what I mean? People probably think that, you know, he don't go to the movies or to the supermarket or whatever. He was just, you know what I'm saying, your average guy, you know what I'm saying, still out and about. And that, you know, that was the beauty of P. You know, he didn't let this game change him. He stayed P to the end.
Yeah. At one point, man, how proud were you when you just seen P's ascension as a lyricist, man? Like he was always dope, but at one point in the game, man, like people were saying that Prodigy was the best, and this was a time when Jay-Z was on fire. This was on time when Nas was on fire, and P, you know, if we comparing it like WWE, he sucked it in at that belt. He had a little belt.
He one of the only niggas who fucking Jay and Pac had it, they name in their mouth.
Right, straight up.
Other people,
Nas too.
Yeah, and big.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, yo, man, to rhyme alongside of that, to be honest, at first, you know, when you so close to something, you don't realize it. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, to me, it was just normal shit. I didn't recognize it until later. I was like, I stepped back and started listening to the lyrics like, oh shit, because, you know, I'm there while he writing it. So, you know, I'm hearing the verse. I'm not really, you know, getting a full grasp on what the fuck he's like. This shit is crazy what he writing. It ain't normal. But you know, to rhyme alongside of him, you know, that shit was a tall feat. You know what I mean? To even sound decent. You know what I'm saying? I'm fuck being on like a group record, like just our album alone, having to, you know, spit with somebody like that and keep you on your toes. I mean, yo, like when I listen back to some of his rhymes now, it's like I'll be like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? And you know, he was doing a lot of guest appearances, and he was just killing everybody on the fucking record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember like as the albums, like I said, the music just kept getting better and better. One of the things that what I noticed was like as the time went by, like the tone of his voice started getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And it was like matching, it was like creating like the darkness even more of like of the music. You know what I'm saying? I was like, maybe the nigga's getting, you know, maybe it's the age thing or whatever. I don't know. I'm like, is he like really doing this shit on purpose or whatever? But I'll listen to like Hell on Earth or some shit, and then I'll listen to Infamous, and it's like the sound,
Right.
like his tone is
Right.
like just it's night and day.
Yeah, he was evolving with, you know what I mean, with his cadence. So, you know, as time went on, he I guess he grew into that voice that he had, and he was like, yo, this is the way. Because I remember feeling a little switch up like in the tone. So I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? That's what P, you know what I'm saying? I was like, that's what P was taking it like, you know, like a Hey Love record, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm rhyming and shit, you know, rep my regular tone, and I check Son out, and he like, yo, no. So I'm like, oh, all right. And then he was doing that on a lot of records, and that was just classic P after a while.
Yo, let's talk about some of the songs from the classic, man. Let's talk about some of these records. I got them pulled up, man, and just give me like little memories, man, of, you know, making it or performing or whatever, man. Of course, we got to go to start with Shook Ones first. I think that beat is maybe like a top 5 beat ever in hip hop, man. Like, I think every rapper has literally rapped over that beat.
Yo, I mean, to me, that shit is amazing. You know what I mean? I really be bugging out. I'm super, super thankful and humbled by it that people even, you know, felt that way about the track.
So tell me about making it. Like, you know, I read somewhere that you use some of the, like the stove.
You know, the story with the stove thing, that shit took a life of its own. I already had made the beat. We didn't shoot the video yet, and when we shot the video, the turning on of the stove in the video sounds so much like the actual track that people associated with one another. Then somebody said, yeah, oh shit, he used the stove. And I just let the story, you know, live a life of its own. But it wasn't from the stove. It sounds similar, but it wasn't. And, you know, I made that beat when I moved back to Queensbridge after being over Prodigy's crib for a while, just to get that vibe. And I just made it right in my mom's apartment. You know what I'm saying? The fellas used to come to the crib, listen to the beats. That was one of the beats that was playing. I ain't think too much of it, but them niggas was going crazy to it. You know, Maddie and them was like, yo, fuck that. We got to use this for, you know, Shook Ones and make it a part 2, you know?
I got to ask about when I got one, Temperatures Rising.
Yeah,
you know, that was
Q-Tip,
that's
Q-Tip
just so
did that.
iconic.
Yeah, Q-Tip did that joint.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
You know, I was never really a big credits person. You know, I mean, obviously, I know he did the other record because he was on it.
Right.
Damn, he did Temperatures Rising. So how would that work when he would come in and do a beat, but you the producer too?
Right. So, you know what I mean? Early on when we started working on the album, we was like, we wanted to get Tip's help. You know what I mean? So when he came in, he pretty much was like, yo, you got to have, you know, like he ain't really going to try to come in and go crazy. So he brought a couple of records in, and, you know, Temperature Rising happened to be one of them. And I think he did it over like 2 different ways or something like that. But it came out that he brought Crystal Johnson in, the singer. She finessed it, and, you know, that was that, you know.
Yeah, she killed it.
Yeah, man, she definitely did, and she sung on the remix of Survival too.
Oh, word.
What's your favorite, like 2 of your favorite songs off the album, man? Just, you know, a couple of sleepers on there that you love, man.
I would have to say Start of Your Ending.
Oh yeah.
Start of Your Ending.
Incredible.
And yeah, thank you. And Trife Life.
Woo, man.
Yes.
How'd y'all link with Ray and Ghost?
Oh, they was label mates, you know what I'm saying? And just because you label mates with somebody don't guarantee you know what I'm saying, a feature. We just bonded with them like immediately. It was like 9 of them niggas, but for some reason Ray and Ghost is like we kind of bonded with them early, you know what I mean? And we would, before we even did records, we would just be hanging out with Ray and Ghost in Staten Island, like word up, just hanging out there, getting high and shit, and just going back home. So it was a real relationship there, a bond, a brotherhood. I looked at them like older brothers. And then, once we got to the studio to do the Eye for an Eye, it was just like second nature. You know what I mean? It was like, we didn't even think about it. We didn't even know what the song was going to be. You know what I mean? We just went in the studio, P came with the fucking hook, and that shit just turned into something else.
Did all you New York groups look at each other as competition back then, or as guys who were doing the same thing, just trying to make hip hop bigger, stronger, and all succeed in this genre of music? Or was there, that competition feel? Like, how much was it we're in this together versus we're against each other because we are competing?
You know what? I to be honest, in my mind, I think it was a lot of competition going on. I don't think it was like kumbaya in New York, unless if you probably was on the same label, maybe from the same neighborhood and shit like that.
I mean, everyone on Loud was a certain way, or everything Mighty and Violator, or so and so, or something like that. Yeah.
It was kind of clicked up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You had your Rockefeller. You had the Wu-Tang. They, Bad Boy. It's like kind of everybody. Some of them mixed and intermingled amongst crews. You know what I mean? But they was kind of similar in the same neighborhoods a little bit, stuff like that. But it was like a competition thing. And, later on, I would say maybe, that's one of the reasons why like New York kind of slowed down a little bit, because everybody wasn't really together. You know what I mean? In my opinion, you know what I mean? I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. I think if New York would have probably just a little bit more stick together as artists, I think it'd probably be different.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think we're gonna see the emergence of some New York super producers, man? Like we had, like, Havoc, RZA, Pete, Tip. Even though Primo not from New York, we didn't claim.
Yeah. We claimed him. It's over.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that I'm seeing. I mean, they have the New York drill scene right now, but I know some of them cats that's making them beats are not from New York. But when do you think we're gonna see the New York born and bred super producer just come back to?
Oh, like new producers, but from New York.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. No one knows, right? But one thing I can say for sure is that New York is a vibe. You know what I mean? And there's always gonna be talent out here, whether the spotlight is on it or not. You know what I mean? You could guarantee that there will be a super producer coming out of New York. It might not sound like the music that we all know and loved at one time, but he will be a super producer. You know what I mean? And we all will be applauding that person, whoever he or she is. You know what I mean? I'm confident of that. And and as far as artists, like, we got some of the biggest artists in the game from New York. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to be any different on the production end of things.
Yeah, I feel like they, a lot of the New York shit, especially like with the younger guys, like they missing like a lot of the sound from, guys like yourself. I would have loved to hear some shit with like you and like a Pop Smoke, or you know what I'm saying,
right.
One of these other guys, because it matches so perfectly, and again, like, it's timeless. It's a little bit different between like an artist and a producer. I never put a cap on an artist, but definitely not a producer. Like, you definitely can't put a cap on them. You know what I'm saying? Have you worked with any of these other new guys at all?
The closest I got to working with any of these new guys is probably just being around them. So I ain't even going to mention it, but I haven't worked with any of these new guys yet. Let's just say that, but it's definitely right around the corner. You know what I mean? Because it's only right. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, that's what the game need. Like to mix a couple of things up. You know what I mean? And that's it's bound to happen.
Because you know, aside from the fact of, you know, when you get into a session with a nigga, like y'all start vibing and shit like that. And one of the things that's lacking with like a lot of these younger dudes is they don't have that mentorship. You know what I'm saying? They don't have niggas around them who who could really give them the jewels, you know what I'm saying, and help them navigate through a lot of shit that what they be going through. Because I think they going through more shit than ever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, as far as like with the game. So they need to be around some people, like some niggas like yourself, like who really been down that lane, and you know what I'm saying, like have that experience and shit like that. And aside from that, just have a really dope sound. I think it would be like a really dope marriage.
Yeah, true indeed. You know, and that right there, what you speaking to, it's kind of really like up to us. You know what I mean? Because you know, when you young and stuff, you're not going out there and being like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think you know it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's us to cut through that tape and be like, yo, what's up, young blood? Like, let me, you know what I'm saying? Let me talk to you. And if they willing to take that OG advice, you know what I'm saying? They'll get it. You know what I'm saying? They'll definitely get it.
So I gotta ask, I know you sitting on a fucking a fucking world of unreleased Mobb Deep music.
Oh man, you would think that I was sitting on a bunch of unreleased Mobb Deep music. I do have some, but it's more of a technical situation of why, you know, I can't just throw it out. Like, you know what I mean? I can't, you know, that would be disrespectful. So, you know, in conjunction with Prodigy's family, you know, we'll like come to some kind of consensus and then, you know, let it be heard.
Now, I think I read I think maybe it was in his book or something where I read something along the lines, but at some point along the way, didn't you lose a bunch of music?
Shit. You know, every now and then the computer you know, crashes. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I haven't lost no massive amount of music anytime that I could think about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you know, I was gonna say, man, I mean, obviously everybody's in the house right now, and you know, we can't go out, but there's always gonna be a fan base for the mob, and people want to see that music. I know obviously P is not here, but I see Noid has been holding you down, man. Doing shows, and it's good to see you guys come back together. How has that been, man? You know, just doing shows without Prodigy physically being here. You feel his energy because everybody is rapping those lyrics. You know, you got the whole house, and then you also have Noid too, helping to hold you down.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Noid, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it, to be honest with you. And overall, to answer your question on how it feels, it just it feels whack. You know what I mean? But you know, I still have to, you know, do something for the fans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, to, you know, let them see, you know, a few performances and so they can hear some of the music that they like. But to me, it's mad whack. You know what I mean? To be up there and performing, you know, without somebody that I started it with, it don't feel good. You know what I mean? It definitely don't feel the same. But, you know, look, I just try my best to uphold the legacy.
Right.
You've been doing a hell of a job, man. Like, you know, we you know, unfortunately we've had to see you know, Bun B without Pimp C and Q-Tip without the late great Phife Dawg, and you know, a few other instances.
Run DMC without Jay.
Yeah, it's a big one. You know, even Eminem without Proof, because Proof was such a a big part of M's stage show, man. But
Word.
you know, I applaud y'all, man, for, you know, keeping that legacy alive, man, because, you know, the mob never stopped. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Prodigy passed away, but, you know, right until he passed, y'all was doing shows and getting that love, man. Like, people love the mob, man. It's gonna be forever an institution.
Yeah, and you know, I could be thankful for that. You know what I mean? That he left us with, you know, a awesome legacy. The love, you know, will always be there, and you know, shit is different. That's a understatement. You know, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. You know, you've seen other groups go through it before. You know, Tribe Called Quest and, you know, Jam Master Jay and, you know, Eminem and a lot more. And they probably would say the same thing that I say. It's not the same, but I think we have an obligation to, you know, curate the legacy the best that we can.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thanking you for coming on and even talking to us about all this stuff.
Yeah,
no,
and
thank you for having me.
You know, one of the biggest things, like, obviously, you know, you guys are celebrating, you know, your anniversary. Like last year, the Wu was celebrating theirs, and they had a couple really big shows that was like really commemorating like the legacy of the group. I remember, you know, showing you some stuff that when we was at Revolt about what we was trying to do with Prodigy.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans to, like, you know, take to document Mobb Deep on the
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we get offers all the time, but, you know, we're not going to just jump at anything. We're going to make sure it's right and everybody is satisfied, because it's not just me, like, wanting to put out, you know, a documentary and tell Mobb Deep's whole story. You know, his family was an instrumental part in his life and part of the story.
Right. You have the 50-50 story for everything, and you have an estate to contend with positively. But with everything, it's not just your story to tell. That's something with a duo.
Absolutely.
It's always the two sides of both of you dealing with it, whether you get along or not, in telling that and putting the release out and all of that.
There you go.
It's a marriage.
There you
Even
go.
in the death. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and you know, you know, and like to go off of what Vanessa was saying, like P has such a creative vision. You know, putting together a documentary is definitely something that he would have a massive amount of input into. So I'm sure it's a real big juggling act for you to you know, figure out how to best serve that out, you know, in P's memory. But, you know, like Sha was saying, you know, I think you do an incredible job, my brother. And I mean, me personally, I definitely thank you for, you know, like just the inspiration that y'all put into these brothers' lives. You know what I'm saying? Like being a nigga from out of Queens and shit and all this stuff that, you know, I have countless stories, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, and, you know, which a lot of it spawned like from Mobb Deep. So thank you, my brother. You know, you guys are true legends, for real.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Word up. Thank y'all.
You know we love you, man. You know we love you, man.
Word.
Thank you for this immaculate catalog, man. Like so many great memories of the mob and so many nights when New York was New York, man.
Well, and for building New York, for being a part of the building blocks of New York hip hop, you know.
Word.
For being part of what it is.
Right now, in my whip, my fucking my CD player. Is broke. Yeah, I have a 5 CD exchange player. There's only 2 CDs that's stuck in there, and the last one is the Mobb Deep album that y'all did with 50. That shit was a really dope fucking album.
Blood Money. Thank you.
A lot of people because of the production of what you did. Y'all are true legends.
Thank you, man. That was a pleasure working with 50. So I appreciate that project as well.
Yeah, it was dope. It was real dope.
Y'all didn't touch. I know we leaving, but I'm like, damn, y'all didn't really touch everybody, man. Like is, you know how they got the Kevin Bacon degrees of separation.
Yeah, we should do that as a big graph for the website. Yeah.
Yay. Oh, hot, Biggie, Puff.
Word.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. You need anything from us, we're here. Much respect, and we enjoyed.
Thank you. Much love, man. Thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Much blessings, my brother.
Bye-bye.